12 ships leave Troy. That is Homer's number, and it is the only number in this story worth holding on to. 12 ships, crewed by men who have just survived 10 years of war and are finally going home. One man arrives, not one ship. One man, alone, on a piece of broken wood, 10 years after that, and he is asleep when he finally lands. So count them with me, because Homer does. And one more thing before we start, because it changes the shape of everything. Almost all of what you remember about this poem is not where you think it is. The Cyclops, the Sirens, the witch who turns men into pigs. All of that happens in 4 books out of 24, and Odysseus is telling it out loud at a dinner party to strangers after he has burst into tears at a song. The Odyssey does not begin at Troy. It does not begin with Odysseus. He does not appear at all for 4 books. So we are going to take it in Homer's order rather than in the order things happened, because the order is the whole argument. Book 1, Ithaca, 10 years after the war ended and 20 years after Odysseus sailed away from it. His house is full of men eating it. They are the suitors, and there are 108 of them. Homer counts those 2. They have moved into the palace on the theory that Odysseus must be dead, that Penelope therefore has to marry one of them, and that the way to press the point is to live in her house and work through her livestock until she agrees. Penelope has been holding them off with a trick that is far better than it sounds. She says she will choose the day she finished weaving a burial shroud for her father-in-law. Then she weaves all day and quietly picks the whole thing out again every night. She gets 3 years out of this before one of her own maids gives her away. Her son Telemachus is about 20 and has never met his father. He has grown up in a house full of grown men eating his inheritance in front of him and finding it funny that he minds. And then Athena turns up. Athena runs this poem. Say it early, because once you notice it you cannot stop. Nearly every good thing that happens to this family happens because she decided it should. She arrives in disguise, the first of a great many, and tells Telemachus to go and find news of his father, then come home and kill everybody in the house. He is 20 years old. Nobody has ever suggested anything remotely like this to him. He goes. He sails to Pylos and then to Sparta, where he is given dinner by Helen. That Helen, the war was fought over her, it ended 10 years ago, and she is at home, hosting, comfortably. Meanwhile the suitors work out that the boy has gone looking for his father, and decide the appropriate response is to ambush and kill him on the way back. Their theory of courtship is that his mother will find this attractive. And there Homer drops Telemachus completely and does not pick him up again for 8 books. Because now we finally meet Odysseus, and he is crying on a beach. He has been on Calypso's island for 7 years. She is a goddess, she is in love with him, and she will not let him leave, which is its own kind of trap, and a much quieter one than a monster. He sits on the shore looking at the water. There is nothing to fight. Zeus sends Hermes to tell her to let him go, and she does, and Odysseus builds a raft and gets off that island at speed. Poseidon sinks it. We will get to why. He washes up half-drowned among the Phaeacians, the most hospitable people in the poem. They wash him, feed him, clothe him, hold games in his honor, and pointedly do not ask his name. Then at dinner their bard sings a song about the war at Troy, and the strange man at the table starts to cry. So they ask. And here is the seam in the poem. From this point, for 4 books, the story is not being told by Homer, it is being told by Odysseus, out loud, to a room, about himself. Keep that in mind for everything that follows. 12 ships leave Troy. They stop first at Ismarus and sack it, because the town had helped Troy and because that is what this crew does. Then the men refuse to leave while there is still wine. The locals come back with reinforcements, and Odysseus loses 6 men from every single ship. 12 ships, lighter. Next, the Lotus Eaters, who are not hostile at all. They offer the landing party food, and the food removes any wish to go home. Odysseus drags his own men back to the ships in tears. Then the Cyclops, which is the famous one. A giant seals them in a cave with a stone and starts eating the crew in pairs, and Odysseus gets him drunk and blinds him with a sharpened stake. The wine he happened to be carrying is a whole story on its own. It also earns him the rest of the poem. The Cyclops is Poseidon's son. From here the sea god is not indifferent to Odysseus. He is working on him. They find Aeolus, keeper of the wines, who hands over the most useful gift anybody gives anybody in Greek literature, a bag with all the wrong wines tied up inside it, leaving only the one blowing them home. They come within sight of Ithaca. They can see people on the shore. Odysseus, who has not slept in 9 days, finally sleeps, and the crew, certain the bag is full of treasure he is not sharing, open it. They are blown all the way back. Iolaus refuses to help twice. Then the Laestrygonians, and this is the moment the poem stops being an adventure. They are giants, and they stand on the cliffs above a narrow harbor and drop rocks on the fleet. 11 ships are destroyed in the harbor with everyone aboard. 1 ship gets out, because Odysseus had moored it outside. 11 ships, in a single paragraph, and Homer barely slows down. 1 ship left. That ship reaches Circe, who feeds half the remaining crew a very good meal and turns them into pigs. Odysseus talks her out of it, and then the crew stay on her island for a year, comfortable, until the men have to remind their captain they were supposed to be going home. She sends them to the underworld first, to ask a dead prophet for directions. The first ghost they meet there is not the prophet. It is Elpenor, the youngest man on the crew, who had got drunk the night before, fallen asleep on Circe's roof, woken up confused and walked off the edge of it. Nobody had noticed he was missing. He asks to be buried properly. That is the Odyssey in one small scene. A man dies of nothing at all, offstage, and still gets a name. Then the Sirens, survived by rope and beeswax. Then Scylla, a thing in a cliff with 6 heads, which takes exactly 6 men out of the ship as they row past the best men aboard, Odysseus says, and he says he could do nothing. Then the last island, and the last mistake. It belongs to the sun god, his cattle are grazing on it, and the one instruction everybody has been given is not to touch them. The ship is becalmed for a month. The food runs out, the men eat the cattle. Zeus destroys the ship with a single bolt. Every remaining man dies in the water. 1 man is left holding the keel, and he drifts 9 days to Calypso's island, where we came in. That is the end of the flashback. We are 12 books into 24, and every ship and every man is gone. The sailing is finished. Everything left happens on 1 island, mostly inside 1 house. The Phaeacians sail him home while he sleeps and set him down on the beach at Ithaca, still asleep, surrounded by their gifts. He wakes up in his own country and does not recognize it. Then Athena makes him old. She disguises him as an old beggar, and this is where the second half of the poem lives. He has arrived, he is home, and for the next 11 books he tells nobody. He goes first to a pig farm and stays with his own swineherd, a slave who does not know him and gives him the best food in the hut. Telemachus comes home, avoids the ambush, and meets his father there, and their reunion takes about a line and a half, because they have work to do. Then he walks into his own palace as a beggar, and the poem starts recognizing him in pieces. A dog knows him first, Argos, lying on a dung heap outside the door, 20 years old, too weak to stand, and he lifts his head, and puts his ears down, and dies. Then an old woman washing his feet finds the scar on his leg and nearly drops the basin. One of the suitors throws a footstool at him for asking for food. Odysseus takes it on the shoulder and says nothing, which from this character is the most frightening thing in the book, and Penelope, who has no proof of anything, announces a contest. She will marry whichever man can string her husband's bow and shoot an arrow through a line of axe heads. None of them can string it, not one. They warm the wood by the fire to make it bend and it still beats them. Then the beggar asks for a turn. The suitors find this hilarious. He strings it sitting down, without getting up, the way a musician fits a new string to a lyre. That is Homer's own comparison, and puts the arrow straight through the axes without moving from the stool. Then he shoots the loudest man in the room through the throat, and the doors are already locked. What follows is the longest and least funny stretch in the poem. Athena is there, turning spears aside. They kill every suitor in the hall, and afterwards they hang the 12 maids who had sided with them, and Homer describes it in a way you do not forget. And Penelope still does not believe it is him. So she sets one last trap, about their bed, and it works, but that one deserves its own telling. The families of the dead men come for revenge. Athena tells everyone to stop, and because she is a god, they stop. That is the ending. Homer does not apologize for it. 12 ships left Troy. 1 man reached Ithaca, and when he got there, he did not go inside. He spends the second half of his own poem standing outside his own door, dressed as somebody else, being kicked by men eating his dinner, waiting to be recognized by a dog, a nurse and a wife. Homer gives 4 books to every monster in the Mediterranean and 11 to a man trying to get through his own front door. I think he knew which one was the story.